Meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
You're all set? With doing all set.
I think I'm good to go.
Danielle,
Danielle,
you're sharing, be ready to share the budget. I am going to share that. That sounds great. I think you guys probably left here last night feeling pretty good. I know that I did. I mean, I thought it was a constructive time frame. Thoughts for tonight where we are planning to start. We have just mentioned that we need to talk about the local, the major, DDA, and the general fund. So we'll wait to hear what Daniel has to say when he's ready to share.
We have Parks and Rec.
Oh, yeah, I am. Thank you so much. Yes.
Sorry, so we were not sharing the screens. So we have ended with the Parks and Rec, but we skipped over the DDA. So if you guys want to finish Parks and Rec and then go back to DDA, and
I'm okay with that.
you guys are, that's kind of what I was
Yeah,
finding.
that way we can wrap that up. That sounds great.
Sorry.
So I think if I recall from last night's conversation, part of the discussion was the transfer of 10,000 from the general fund coming into the Parks and Rec. Okay.
since
One of the things you guys may have noticed is in the revenue portion, sponsorships
and then
are
advance.
not sure which
Here's the
group I
words.
should use.
We had to do this.
They were not,
Do
there
the
was not,
one.
no particular
host.
sponsorship.
Oh, no, I'm sorry,
No,
all
we did all of
participants
them.
and then host. Yep, now save it.
2023/20,
Or close it, I should say.
and hence the reason you see nothing there in this year. The hopes obviously are for next year to have that sponsorship campaign take place. And we see Danielle has down the amount of $5,000. I don't think that that is, in my opinion, sitting on that board, that's unrealistic. That is absolutely realistic. I believe, I just think that things didn't quite get on the right foot with the sponsorship program.
You're saying that amount is too low?
I think the 5,000 is a good number to use as for the budget perspective. If we can get more than that, that would be ideal. But I think for us to say 5,000 at this point in time, I think is realistic. Because you'll notice there wasn't a big sponsorship in 22 left. In 23/24. And 22/23, nor 23/24.
That's something you guys have wanted to do in 23/24.
23/24 would be this year, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, why it didn't get that?
Well, I will say this, that it was discussed. There wasn't quite a plan in place that I would have liked to have seen personally. It was my impression that the director was going to be leading in the sponsorship. And having dialogue with businesses to introduce himself as well as to ask for monies. And I don't believe that that occurred. If it did occur, I believe it happened specifically for, Blissfield on tap, that there was a specific sponsorship for that event, but as a sponsorship for overall Parks and Rec, that did not occur. Would you agree with that? Dana? Yes.
Would that have included the bicentennial softball game?
I honestly don't know the answer to that.
I don't think that happened, but it
The softball game happened, the volleyball did not.
wasn't softball supposed to go from 11 to 8 to 11.
We only had 4 teams, so it's reduced considerably.
And I mean, as far as it being a Parks and Rec plan, I don't know if I would necessarily say we turn our plan, there was not a work plan for it. And I can't answer exactly why that did not occur. I do know that, there has been discussion now with our board, we're in the month of what, July, so we did not have a meeting here in July. Our last meeting in June, we did discuss the sponsorship issue, and the board is much more aware of the situation now than what they were. And they understand the importance of getting on it ahead of time with a work plan and working forward. Would you agree with that, Danielle? That's my impression.
So I'm looking at the budget years here, 21, 22, nothing, 22, 23, nothing.
So that's a little bit misleading because under the chart of, so. We did the chart of account conversion in 20, we finished it in 22, 23. No, 21, 22. My time is all.
I know,
I tried 2 years ago, no, I'm just kidding. And then when we were audited that year, our new auditors told us that we had the Parks and Rec and the building department. We had flipped those funds, so Parks and Rec used to be 508. And it's now 208 under chart of accounts. So when you pull that history, it's not pulling because the history is in 508.
So the basis of my question was, is that sponsorship something we've had in previous years that we just haven't had in the past?
So we have always, at least to my knowledge, we've always had sponsorships. We historically brought in between $5,000 and $6,000. The 21, 22 year, we brought in about $3,200, and then the 22, 23 year, we brought in $2,400, and then this current year, we brought in none for overall. And again, we do still have some sponsorships, but they were tied to the program. So we did get sponsors for 3-on-3. We do have sponsorships for Blissfield on Tap, but those are then they're tracked through that specific program. But those, that 5,000 and 6,000 was on top of those that we've gotten past as well.
So is it fair to say we've only received $250 in money for the year on tap? What's still on tap? In this year?
What line are you on here?
No,
16.
that is the year-to-date balance as of 5/31. So that's a couple months old now. That column is in there because that's the column that is pulled when I start working on the budget. And I leave it in there because I do use it as a guide for future projections. To some degree, obviously that one's quite a bit different. But we actually have more in revenues on that one. And even our revenues aren't fully seen yet for Blissfield on Tap because we do tickets through Eventbrite. And I've got that set up that they just pay us one final check after it closes. And just on Eventbrite, it's 70 tickets. Yeah, so that year to date is very misleading. Don't
It's
read
okay,
too
it
much.
hasn't happened, it hasn't happened, that's what all money comes.
Yeah,
I give you guys credit for being able, Laura Parks, those guys for asking people for money, because I know that we continue to do over and over and over, and it probably gets old. You guys are much stronger than me knocking on doors and asking for money over and over, but I think people are more willing to give if they know what they're getting.
That's
So
exactly
that's
what we
same with
discussed.
that transfer, like, let's come up with a project and then.
Yeah, well, in fact, I think what we had dialogue about was following the DDA format, which has been successful, and I'm just they start tomorrow, helping Laura with the sponsorship for the DDA Main Street. But I think what I believe from that project is that we need to go for specifics, like you say, like the days of just saying, please give us $200, or, here's your sponsorships, or whatever. What we have discussed, again, going back to Parks and Rec Board, is here is the event, here is the project, and then your money would be earmarked towards that versus the general fund, if you will. So that is something that the board has discussed. We don't have the plan in place, but it will be in place so that we can start looking at our sponsorship in the months of January/February, so that we do not coincide with what Laura's got going on with the DDA. And our goal, of course, would be a one-time ask as well for the Parks and Rec. So when we go ahead and we go out, we would obviously look to see who, sponsors is sponsoring, Blissfield on Tap. Ask them if they would like to reoccur with that sponsor, just the same format as DDA. And then I think then with that, we will be able to have much more success. I also think that we have learned that, you cannot rely on just one person. It needs to be a team effort, and that is something that Parks and Rec, obviously struggled with once again, unfortunately, but I think through this bad news, we're going to make that correction. Again, learning from our mistakes.
So we can talk about this 10,000 balance. It's really the only request that Parks and Rec has in the upcoming budget year. And that would come from general, so we can focus on that there, since we do have quite a bit of requests. I guess I do want to throw this out there. You guys food for thought. It's not going to be popular opinion, but I do think it's something that we should be thinking about or talking about, because I do think it's potentially an option. And that is the continuation of Parks and Rec. I would say in my time with the village, Parks and Rec has not been overly successful. We've tried a few different things, so I do think that that's something we should also talk about. Obviously, our parks, I think, are important to our community and will continue. I think that the Parks and Rec board is a good, they're an advisory board who has some good ideas. They volunteer a lot, they do a lot of work for the parks. But I guess specifically, my question, or again, kind of maybe unpopular or food for thought, is the recreation programs. Is that something that we want to continue to budget and spend our time on? Because I, if I'm being honest, feel like we're spinning our wheels a little bit, and I'm just not always convinced it's the best use of our resources and time.
Because
For
we're
example,
you guys.
yes,
Just gonna ask, how much does the office staff spend on parking and rec?
it's a lot.
Like,
I don't even know how to put a number to that.
buy it?
It's, yeah.
It depends on the season.
It does depend on the season, like fall is definitely busier for us, and that's one of my struggles too. I mean, we do the social media, we do the website, we do the registration, we take all of the registrations, and I'm not complaining about that part of it, but I'm gonna, for example, this fall, we opened up flag football registration, which we historically done for second grade, third, fourth. We added fifth, sixth this year. Because some parents had voiced that they did not want that age group doing tackle, and tackle is limited because of, we only have so many helmets and gear. There's a parent group that actually is doing their own travel at Flag Fleet, which is impacting our numbers. So there's options in our community, and they're not necessarily coming to us for it. There's other communities that don't do Parks and Rec that are similar in size to us. Onset, for example, they do have Parks and Rec programs for, they do fall and spring soccer. It's a committee. It's separate from, it's not under the village, it's ran by committee members. They have their own board, they collect their own fees to pay for their things, they like the league. Correct. And that's becoming with travel sports, and it's just becoming more and more popular. And again, I'm not saying that is the answer, but I do think it's something that we should think about and consider. And
I know really problem for approximately 3 weeks.
Lincoln's the same way. They do have programs, but it's a chair person that runs it. Now they do partner with the village on that a little bit more than Onset, which is more separate. Some communities just don't offer it. You go to the Little League or travel or whoever in that area is doing that. Because it is costing us. And the fee, like the fees increase this fall to help cover those costs, and I'm not saying we should be making money at all, but we need to be covering expenses in some of these programs. I mean, you guys know we talked about tackle football last year and how costly that is to maintain. We're gonna have to recondition helmets, and I mean, it's very expensive for these things and we are losing people to these other programs, so maybe it's time to consider not letting. Throwing it out there.
It's something, I'm glad you threw it up. Because, there was talk of that a while ago, as well, about the continuation of.
Is the new parts and rec coordinator helping that person living up to the job expectations that I'm hearing that our office staff is working a lot on these programs.
I think regardless of who the director would be, the office would have to still be doing its work unless the director were in the office, to be quite, that would be my impression. Which of course, we don't have that kind of money, which is something here can, maybe wanted to be obviously prior to all this, is have the full time and be in that office. But I don't think some directors could certainly, offset some of the work that these guys have, but they're always gonna have work simply because of all these programs and the signups. But remember what Danielle was saying as well, you're talking the posts, the social media posts. The director is not doing that kind of material, and that does take time to make the flyers. It's to prevent then our staff doing that material, but the money is then our staff doing it because that person is not here to collect it.
For spring soccer, Maddie had a spreadsheet going where she input the contact information and so that the teams could be made in shirt sizes, like that takes time. It's just, it is a lot of work.
So this is my opinion. I mean, I have a computer and I've done computer work at home. So for somebody to have a office space here to do computer work, I don't buy that. I mean, my opinion, take a couple hours out after dinner.
It's more the question of the monies.
Okay, so.
Would that be correct there? But I don't know, I think there's no contractors.
I mean, are you guys the ones that are coordinating, ensure equipment available?
Well, that is, should be the core project program coordinator. That would be.
But my question was, are you guys the ones doing it?
No, we did not do any of the soccer balls that like people did drop them off here, but we didn't distribute that. Emilio did that in the spring. Ball equipment's not been passed out yet. That's Emilio.
But you just mentioned that Maddie has got a spreadsheet going when the order, when the player comes in or the parent comes in to sign the player up. She's going through extracting information off of the sign up sheet, is that correct?
So in the spring, for spring soccer, she goes, because we have to create teams and schedules.
Why isn't he doing that? I'm just asking.
I don't want to get into personnel because one, he's not here and it's not fair, and he has the right to go, and we're starting to go that direction. If you guys have questions about personnel specific questions, I will address them, or we can invite him here.
I don't think it's a question of personnel. I think it's about job responsibilities.
And if we want to talk about job responsibilities, this is where it gets very challenging. It's a part-time position that does work remotely and is limited. So if we let those, I'm going to use soccer as an example. So spring soccer, we have 100 kids that register typically. We collect registrations and then we don't enter anything, and we require him to then remotely enter that information. And he's catching up when registration closes. Shirt orders are due the next day in order to get those in time and not pay a late fee, which we did in the spring because of. So there's a lot of like very tight deadlines that have to happen quickly. So if we aren't all doing it together, it will not work regardless of who's in that role.
It's still be a coordinator though, somebody like Dave's spring soccer coordinator, it's still be our office staff that are posted. You shouldn't be sweeping out, and thank you for what you did, you should be sweeping out and sorting football equipment. You shouldn't be spending any time down at the pool, maintaining the pool, you've got much more important things, again, and that's what I alluded to, you're the CEO of the village, you have more important things that you should be focused on than volunteer portions. They would take you for sure, okay? But that's not really all. it needs to happen by the people that are volunteering or signing up or being paid to be a coordinator or a director of the program or of each individual.
That's, I think that's a problem, is we don't have that. And that's why I guess I'm bringing it up, is
Right.
are we spinning our wheels? Are we trying to make something happen that's just maybe not
If
going
the
to happen?
opportunity's out there and somebody else can do it better, I would much rather get it out of our hands because. Again, it costs time and money and volunteers and things like that. If somebody else can do it in the community, do it better than us, then get it out of the village's hands. I want to see things end. And I certainly want to see the Parks and Rec program continue. As an advisory board, it's things that they're passionate about. You know, let's make sure we have the infrastructure. It doesn't have to all be programmed. But, you know, when you guys are focused on the playgrounds, around the infrastructure, around the river road, that's the sort of thing that the Parks and Rec board can continue to focus on and try to raise money, but maybe we get out of the program. Because it has.
And the school used to, remind me, I think I corrected, the school used to do some of this material, and then it was passed to Parks and Rec many years ago, is that correct? But was that something that Jerry, you talked about?
So when I was on Parks and Rec board, all we did was spring and fall soccer.
And,
That was it.
and that was something, these other things involved, and
Yeah, the rest of our focus was on designing a loop walking trail.
Yeah.
And
so you guys
picking
didn't
out
have
the
the,
tree, and that quarter of that,
the football, cheerleading,
no, just out of that.
which does make difference,
They didn't exist at the time.
right?
Right, we were.
Wasn't football a separate committee and then it somehow got, didn't you were part of that at
That's
the
right.
beginning, Laura, correct? Right, you did.
When our second son was in fourth grade, we started the football program and cheerleading. And then we added, I ran it for about 8 or 9 years. Something like that. And it was a separate entity and then Steve Dad took it over. And it was a lot. But I was a stay-at-home mom at the time and Steve realized how much work it was. And so he brought it to the Parks and Rec and that's when it became part of it.
Okay, that was.
And then they added the soccer, which I think was already part of your program here.
Yeah, I thought soccer was a pretty place.
It might have been, yeah.
How would you, okay, so let's just pretend, Danielle, that the board says, we're not going to do Parks and Rec for the figures. I mean, how do you phase something like this out? I mean, I don't even know if now's the time to discuss that, but we're talking budget, so that, I'm curious, I mean, how would you phase that out?
I mean, I would probably,
If that's something that we're decided, that's not been decided, but if
I would take a hard look at the programs and like, to me, it would be where are we struggling to get registrations and where are we struggling to pay for our expenses?
so how would you,
And then I would just sit where this program will be discontinued and I would phase it out from there. Or take a very active effort to reach out, like, let's say we have a program that maybe cost wise doesn't make sense, but we have some interest. Try to get somebody that could kind of take that torch and carry it and continue doing it.
so as far as a budget for 24, 25, you would keep this and have that discussion with the Parks and Rec board?
I definitely think it's not something that we say, oh, we're done.
No,
Hands washed.
yes,
It would be something that would, I think, kind of happen over time, but I guess I'm bringing it up on the budget is. Is it something we want to work towards or not? And I don't think, I'm not saying there's no Parks and Rec, because I do think there's a lot of vital services that we provide, but. I think the Parks and Rec board, they've got a passion for some of those things. Like, I think they could still do light up the park, and instead of that fundraiser going towards programs, it can go towards maintenance in the park. And it can be just kind of shift gears and refocus instead of being sports program oriented. Cause it's the sports programs is where I feel like we're really just spinning our wheels and
Let's bring on to the versions of what's.
Yeah, well, Blissfield's it's successful and it's made money, much like the DDA, so that could be reinvested back in, say, you know, the slides that we, or the picnic tables or things
Right.
like that. It happens in the park, it can be reinvested.
so that's kind of what I would envision.
So hearing you say that, going back to the question of the $10,000. What is your recommendation on the 10,000?
If you guys are wanting to have a serious conversation about changing the structure of this and really taking a look, then I would say do not transfer that. If you're saying no, these programs are important for us to continue providing, then I would recommend it does go into the recreation fund to help it. But again, I think, and I'm not saying I have to, I'm just saying, I think it would be wise of us to look at all
And if we went with the
other
10,000 now,
alternatives.
we went with the 10,000 now, it's not done. We can go ahead and have this discussion after we talk more. I don't know what our August, committee of the whole is. But, that could be something to discuss there and with Parks and Rec. And then we could go ahead and amend the budget.
Yeah, you guys can,
So I mean, we
and
can always do
yeah,
that. So if we went with the 10 now. And then had a discussion, we could still change things.
yes,
Well, we wouldn't really, we won't go around the budget. So
you will until September.
So we got, so that would give it, so.
I would, if you get us participants in each of those programs from last year.
Yeah, I
so
have-
we can see
I have
numbers.
them, I can email it to you, I do an after that shows the
Do we have anything?
expenses, revenues and the
Oh, perfect.
participants.
Do we have anything lined up for the August meeting?
I do not,
Then let's make this maybe the whole discussion. And, do you guys wanna go with the 10 now? You want to wait on the 10? We can change it, exactly. So where do you wanna go with the 10 now? And then, okay,
I would say move it down.
okay, so let's go with the 10 now, and then after our discussion and then Parks and Rec talk.
Well, we still need to talk general fund. fee.
Oh, yes, exactly, yes.
Problem.
Sorry, good point, Mike, sorry, I'm getting.
But I agree with you, don't say, take that 3,000 from, let's see, on tap or whatever. If we do the Christmas trees again, you know, some other sponsored program or whatever, we say we've got $5,000 and then maybe if we can chip in 5,000 or something like that. Rather than going back into the programming. Much like Danielle alluded to, you know, the maintenance, the wear and tear, I'd like to see us hire an engineer and do a. You know, master plan of our parks, of our, you know. So we have an overall vision of, okay, the next 20 years, we're gonna rebuild the tennis courts, or we're gonna need this, or we're gonna replace, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, it's not just the ad hoc, let's throw a dog park here, let's do this, let's do that.
It's got to be.
It's exactly, and hopefully we focus on that. I think that's money more well spent.
So are you saying, Mike, are you okay with us putting the 10 in here for now?
For now, I still don't like it, kind of a generic, but yeah, it's a placeholder for now, sure.
Placeholder, let's call it a placeholder. That's.
I still would prefer to see it.
No, totally agree, but we can, that way we can go on to the next
Absolutely.
part of the budget. But Danielle, thank you for bringing that to our attention, because I think, that's,
I know that's not always fun conversation.
it's not a fun conversation, but it's something that needs to be discussed.
It's not, but those are the luxuries, and I get it's good for community building, things like that.
We've got a lot of other things that go.
There's things that we're cutting that we don't want to have cut either. And so in addition,
So I'm hearing committee of the whole regarding that, okay, super. Where do you want to go now, Danielle?
So let's jump back to DDA and then we'll kind of get back on track if you guys are good with that. So obviously Laura is here tonight as well. When I first sent this to you guys, I did not have the DDA board recommendation in that far right column. Because they were meeting later that evening, I think, from when I initially sent it to you. The DDA board did approve it as is right now. They, however, got a couple things kind of pending with requests for the village, so they may be looking at that again, but I'll kind of turn it over to Laura to talk about any of this if you want, or if you guys have questions, then let her know. And it's fairly similar to last year, they did add railroad days in, which they're only going to do if they're able to get the sponsorships to cover that. Otherwise, that program would be cut. And then they do have, I guess it's connected, sorry. They do have 50,000 in capital projects that's for the street lights, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, or we can talk about it now if you guys want. We do have a request in major streets to help them fund that. You guys did appropriate $50,000 this year, and we are requesting you guys consider bumping that up to 150,000. And then partner with their 50, you could complete that project.
So we do have one quote, for the streetlights, and they came in at around 90. And we're estimating with electrical and, raising the concrete and doing those kinds of things that are cool.
What line is that, Danielle, for the lights that we're talking about?
It's under capital projects, it's on the back page.
Yeah, can you give a number there, Laura?
And DDA, it's 106.
It's at 50,
106, okay.
50,000.
Capital project, that. Thank you.
So that's our big, our big ask. We did, as a board, decide to discontinue Movies on Lake.
Right.
And the Tea Party and the healthcare, and put that money towards advertising. Bringing more people into the. And again, we're waiting to hear back from a sponsor on the railroad days. If that happens, then we would do it. If not, if I couldn't raise the 37.7 is the number that I want to raise. The 7,000 is on top of that. I did raise 42.5 last year. Because unlike you, Mike, I do like to ask people for money. And Gwen helps me a lot. So, 2015, just to speak a little bit, we did go to a presenting sponsor with our one-time ask, and that was very, very well received. And so we'll continue to do that. So if you sponsored an event this year, we'll go to you and say, do you want to continue on in that spot? If you let it go, then that leaves room for somebody else. So. Any other questions?
Am I missing something, meaning that looks like they're taking care of themselves? There's nothing special coming from the village that they are.
They are requesting a $20,000 transfer from the village.
Okay, what line is
Which
that?
I apologize, it's not highlighted in their budget, it is in
It's
general,
on the very last.
it's 27.
27, okay, got, no, I didn't see that, okay, got you.
Yeah. And that's to offset the wages for DPW.
General, gotcha, okay.
See,
And
those are a lot of my questions too, sorry, because again, if we go over to the general fund, which we will discuss, there's a lot, there's transfers to DDA. There's transfers for economic development, so I guess I want to know what's coming out of the general fund, like. Validated number that is coming out of the general fund proposed to go to the. That's my question, my concern, trying to remote that here.
I think he's talking about the portion that the village states need for economic development.
Yes, I did give you that in the BDA meeting as well, because general fund, it's 42,725. If you approve that $20,000 transfer. And that's from general fund. 20,000 would be the transfer to the DDA to help offset the DPW wages. And then the general fund under economic development pays $22,725 in wages and benefits. And that's the portion of Laura's wages that we pay because she does village-wide economic
oh, the
development.
22,725 is wages benefits for Laura. And then the 20,000 DDA is for what again?
It's, they're requesting that to be transferred into their fund to
That's
help
transfer.
them offset the cost of the DPW wages and benefits.
On top of streets and streets that would potentially go right to purchase the streetlights.
So, correct, that is budget, that is requested in major streets, not general, but yes.
But again, I guess I, consolidating, what are we spending on the media?
42,755.
If you approve the 150 that's in the streets, then it's 192.75, 725.
Say that number again, Danielle. Because with the streets, it would be what?
192,725.
Okay. And that's with the streets.
Yes,
And with the wages and benefits, and that's with the transfer cost.
and that's if you were to, so you guys appropriated 50,000 this current fiscal year. So we're asking to carry that forward and add the 100, that's where the 150,000 comes from. And the DDA, and so Laura Brandon and I did go meet with Julie Gold at Blissfield Savings, and they did ask her to look into potentially getting a loan to do the streetlights. So that and this is where I say the DDA is kind of up in the air because they need to know what we're going to do in order to really finalize their budget, because if we approve what they've requested, the budget presented is what they would like. If we say, no, we're not gonna give you the 100,000 for the lights, then they are going to consider possibly going to get a loan to do that, and then they're gonna have to build in that loan payment in their budget as well, so it changes their, really entire budget, essentially.
But, and that would be about, for 100,000, that would be about 13,000 to service the loan. We can hear them. And, we also have, as a board, decided to, restrict $10,000 in our, of our money to go towards the streetscape that hopefully will come down the road in 7-8 years, whatever. So that we will have some money in the fund to do that. So that doesn't show up on your budget because of the way restricted funds are allocated, but that does include. So if we took out a loan for 100,000, the to service loan would be 12 or 13, and then that 10, that would be our capital project every year. Is what we got. We budget 25,000 every year for capital. So,
And that would be your capital project.
so servicing the debt for 10 years, and then that restricted funds, so we wouldn't do any capital projects unless I raised more money or we dipped into our fund. I do want to say that since I've been here 2 years, I have never used the budget. I always have a surplus. So. No, I don't use the whole budget, but it's nice to have.
If you don't get that 20,000, then Laura, what happens from that?
So we talked about a couple things we could do. One thought was we would buy the streetlights and hold them until we could raise the money. Nobody really wanted to do that because of the possibility of getting damaged, whatnot. We also talked about maybe only doing the worst, like maybe doing 6 of them. As a possibility. As most of you know, this street light here fell over. And James found it laying on the ground. And it was just, very fortuitous that it didn't hit. So we know that they're corroded, we know that they need to be. So.
But that's the money for the street. What about the transfer from general to 20,000? Yeah.
That's to go towards DPW wages. Again,
Okay.
I try and volunteers, we try to do as much as we can. There's some things that DPW has to do for us. And I try to be very mindful of not overtaxing the guys, but just depends on.
And if you didn't get that 20,000 for the DPW, what would happen?
So, if we took out a loan for 100,000, we could do 6 of them. And then that would be our capital project every year. So we it would come out of programming, or we would have to raise some, I mean. We serve at the pleasure, and, you know, that's what we're asking for, but if it doesn't happen, then we go back to the drawing board and we figure out. Just like at home, if you didn't make as much as you thought you were gonna,
Yeah.
you, tighten your belt. So we'll, you know, depending on what you guys decide, we'll go back to the board in September. See what they want to do.
And so like going back to the park and rec, that's why you're saying the same thing about the 10,000 there. I understand. what you're saying. But I understand.
I do also want to point out that almost, well, I think all of our 4K events made money. This year, historically, Yuletide has never made money. And this year we actually broke. So, the committees are working really, really hard to make these events revenue. So.
And you want to keep this amount 20,000.
And we can talk about that a little bit more in general fund, because that's, again, you're gonna be looking at your overall, so it might make more sense. Well, we do have street funds, if you wanna do those first and then general.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
Streets are fairly straightforward, I would say probably, so local street. There's not really much changes here, I highlighted the capital projects for you guys, and they are, really, they're the same projects that we request every year. The road, sidewalks, trees. And striping, yes. Not stripping, striping, sorry. So again, it's same as I did with the other funds, I got the reserves down at the bottom there, and you can see what a 3-month, 6-month reserve, and then what the available funding to spend on those projects are. I would say streets funds, my recommendation would be similar to water and sewer, these are typically a little bit more expensive projects. So I think a little bit higher fund balance than what you would see in general fund would be my recommendation. And then you guys want to talk about these a little bit more, but my recommendation would be to do budget all these projects down below, and then the 540 that's requested is budget the maximum that we can, and they'll do as many streets as we can. The $540,000 comes from our capital improvement plan. We calculate how many miles of roads we have, what the average cost to replace that in average life, and extrapolate that out. And it says that we should be spending about $1 million a year. Realistically, I will tell you guys, that's probably over the capacity that we even have here with the contractors and the staffing that we have available. So that's why my recommendation would be to reduce that. And we've been able to thankfully get some pretty decent street projects done the last few years that have actually come in under budget. And a lot of interest. I mean, just recently, we have 6-7 bidders on each of those. But again, if you guys want to do something different, obviously we will do so.
Well, let's talk the transfers again. Normally, this you're recommending a higher transfer from general fund to do more, right? More infrastructure replacement.
Oh, yes, we do need to talk about, thank you, because I was thinking major in my mind for that.
Yeah.
Yes, I am requesting 375,000, so we will need to talk about this. You guys actually historically have done a $375,000 transfer, with the exception of the last couple of years, because our general fund, which it still does, has so many projects that are needed. So I did bump that back up. Obviously, we can always reduce that back down. Which I had requested a little bit more last year, and we dropped that down because when we got to the general fund, And I think you guys are gonna have the same, run into the same thing again. You're gonna find out that you're running out of money much faster than we would like to, so we do need to look at that as well. I would still, my recommendation, you guys would remain the same. I would fund this, the 20, and I can type these in, I can always change this, but just so you can visually see the numbers. I would fund these amounts here and then set whatever you can for this 540, like this year we did 140, and again, oh my goodness, I need a mouse, sorry. We budgeted 140, but we came in under budget, so if we enter all of that, it still leaves us a good chunk of funding to play with, and we can kind of mess with that $375,000 transfer when we're within general fund, and then whatever is remaining allocated towards those street repairs.
I guess that kind of my point is, we did use the maintain that a lot more, we build, we, did spray patching, things like that, prior to probably 19 ish, we did do much more on maintaining roads. I think that's something that we prided ourselves with. Again, with the general fund, like Danielle said, being struggles. Like Joe Fry, Darwin, and up through Danielle days, we kind of cut back on that to have the general fund for our operations. But I would like to see us go back to maintenance thing to where, we're doing the infill sidewalks that we talked about for years, we're fixing curves, and on top of that, like I said yesterday, we finally paid off the Franklin Street sewer separation project. So now, are we just gonna continue rolling that in? Are we gonna look at the next big project? Are we gonna start engineering, say, Cherry Street or Worth Street, things like that, the things that need curb and gutter? What is the focus on that? What's the next big project? Because again, now we've got that extra quote, $100,000 to sort of work between the water sewer. So what is our mission? What is our vision? We don't want to just rob that money and utilize it on something else. I think it would be nice to roll it over for the next whole big project that we're focusing on. Probably some curb and gutter, more lane, whatever.
And I do think that Mike brings up some good points. I think we need to improve on curb gutter and sidewalk, absolutely, but I do think we've done a really good job of maintaining our streets still. This year, we actually didn't even bid out a spray patch project because we don't have any need for it. So we did do quite a bit of mill and fill. So I do think we're keeping up there. We definitely need to get better at the sidewalks and curb and gutter and improve that. And if you look at our history, we've budgeted some money there and not spent that. We need to get better at spending all of it. And that's something actually Maddie's helping me with a sidewalk inventory. I started a tree inventory to help build that up and get to a point where we have a plan to better. That way we're not just out there throwing darts saying, oh, let's do this spot, let's do this spot.
So we've talked about getting out to,
Well,
north end of town and
that's
stuff.
exactly what I was, I spoke a little bit to Danielle about this. How much money do we have in the sidewalk fund? I mean,
So you reappropriated every year.
Right,
So
so how much?
this year, we did spend $21,750 on sidewalks.
and that was correct. Fix them,
That, yes, that was fixed and some new. But not, it was mostly fixed.
because that is something as being out there on, this one having North Lane, that curve around our nines. It's not wait, this is between the bikes and the walkers, and I'm one of them, of course. Somebody may say, well, she's saying it for herself. No, there's a whole lot of people that utilize that bicycle, et cetera. And I know that we couldn't do the whole thing, but if we could even do a piece that's between, Leo Gold's house, and I don't know who the people are, their last name. Right there, but there's that section. Yeah, right there, and do that part of it even, but. I just don't have one in there.
And part of the reason we've not done that is, it is on me, because I think it's important that we have that sidewalk plan. Because agree with you, it doesn't probably financially, we can't afford to go do that whole stretch. But I would like to see where are those stretches and then let's do sections every
Exactly.
year.
And
And
then,
then just
Yes.
continue extending it
exactly,
until we get to the point that it's now connected and
Right.
completed.
right.
And I did ask Maddie's helping me, like, she's got a ton as well, so we just work on it a little bit here and there. But I think if we can get that done, I'll give you something to do. If you need to talk about it, yes. We will always take help.
But I was just curious, I have, yeah. for the federal.
Do you guys have concerns with my recommendation? Do you want to do that right now? We can obviously always change this if need be.
You're
And we'll
the
keep-
20, the 60,000 you guys. You're saying, you're talking about.
Correct, and then we would put the remainder in this road portion, but I don't wanna fill that in until I know in general fund if we want to adjust that 375. We're starting to get to the point where things are really connected, sorry.
I'm okay with what you've got. Typed in as right now.
So major streets. There's no transfers in from major streets, it does collect a little bit more in revenue here. Again, this fund is fairly similar to last year, we do have our request built in here, in the highlighted area, which is the road, sidewalk, tree strip, same thing, these are to fund major streets. And then the decorative lights, again, we've got the 50,000, we're requesting 150. I tried to, anytime that we're carrying forward funds, I tried to move forward the amount we have budgeted and unspent, but obviously you guys can reappropriate or not, I mean, so that can't change. But if you go down to the bottom of this fund, again, have what a 3-month, 6-month reserve would be. If we were to fully fund this project, all of these projects, we would actually have remaining this 158,103, which would be over a 6-month reserve. So this fund is fairly healthy and could afford to do all of those projects. Hence my recommendation for doing the 150,000 for DDA rather than having them do a loan with interest.
Okay, I'm gonna just summarize what I'm hearing you say. So you're saying that the road, sidewalk, trees, striping, blah, blah, decorative downtown, taking it down to the bottom, we have the 158,000, which gives us above the 120,000 a year. Correct.
Yes. And I will tell you guys, I kind of surprised Laura with that 150,000 for the lights, because when I was doing this budget. I got to the bottom and I'm like, oh my gosh, for the first time, I'm so excited we actually have money. And was trying to think of how to make it work for her, so that I'm very confident that we can fully fund these projects and help the DDA. Obviously, what you guys choose is what we'll do. But if you have questions.
Well, I'm okay with the basic fund, if we can do that, and our fund balance is above it for 6 months.
That 150 would include building the lights up on Blissfield, where they are.
Yeah.
Below the bases there.
Yeah, we want to get them off the ground so the salt's not.
What do we have down there before these ones?
Pardon me?
What did we have down here before these things? I can't remember.
Street lights.
Were they?
Old South Clover Road.
I could not remember.
So they'll be the same style light, they'll just be sitting on a pedestal instead of being right flush with the sidewalks.
And I'm not trying to be smart. What's the longevity supposed to, what's it
So
supposed to benefit?
These lights have been out here about 40 years.
About
Yeah,
4.
40. These lights that are on Lane Street are 40 years old.
They are?
Yeah, no, the ones that are on 223, those are
Yeah.
12 years old, I think, Mike.
These are 40 years old here?
Yeah, it's different, right? This was done like 80s.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, my God, well, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's no break.
That's why it's such it's such a
Such a
dire,
baby.
well,
I'm such a
it
baby.
snuck up on me, but Brent has been kind of whispering in my ear since I got here, that those were getting, they were getting kind of corroded and,
So it's not, right,
so Brent is really point on this. He really knows what he's doing and he picked the light and picked the company that he likes. They're strong, and they're top of the line. We could do a less expensive light, but he does not want to do that.
There's really only two companies. There's Sternberg and Hanover. And Hanover is fairly new. They just kind of have come into that market, so they're not the. My understanding, the quality is just not the same as Sternberg that's been around forever. Like Sternberg is across the nation. That's what we had in Rollins as well as, that's kind of the typical company that people go with.
And we did do our due diligence. We saw if we could replace parts of it. It's not, these are not made that way, where you can replace pieces and parts. So
They be LED lighting.
they will be. Mhm. They're not currently, I don't think
They are.
They are not.
Yeah, they were, we had it in that, so.
But 190 or whatever that quote got is for Sternberg, not for.
To be,
The,
23.
the Sternberg ones would match 223 and those, the light quote came in at, it's like just over 90,000.
yes. And
I
I
don't
just,
remember the exact
I
number.
just roughly spoke with the electrician and he kind of threw a number at me. I did not get a quote. So, you know, it could come in less. He doesn't think it would come in more. So, and obviously we put that out to bid.
And that's just for replacing the ones down south line.
It's, so the ones on the corner, the 5 lights, those are fairly new. It's these 5 lights down here, these two.
Okay.
And then there's 12 lights, 6 on each side.
I got cancer.
Sorry, honey.
Stutter if you help me.
So there's total of 14 lights.
Prefer to see the quote for both, because the ones that MDOT put in, well, they're TE grant, I mean, those aren't Sternbergs.
We did get a quote for both.
We did.
And
we'd have to, we'd have to update it. They were a little bit cheaper, but it was not much. I wanna say it was like a couple $1,000s. And I can pull those again, and share that with you.
Yeah,
But we did get one out of those.
quality, but if it's only.
We had, Brett and I walked around with the rep and, you know, we just don't wanna, if we're not gonna move forward with the projects, we don't wanna have them come out again. But it was.
Ones along 223 are we looking at replacing those down the road anytime soon?
I don't think so. I think they're in good shape according to Brent. But that would not be a DDA project. I don't think that would be in, it's a, Mike would know better. I think that it's,
No, I probably come back to us or do
Yeah.
it for the TE grant.
Yeah.
Call back or anything.
I just found a TAP grant today with the transportation department. And I am gonna look into possibly getting some money that way. But those things are very laborious and according to Brent, it's pretty dire. Has to be done. Good question.
Well, you know, you said that somebody asked if we need to replace lights on 223 and you said no. So I'm kind of curious how the salt plowing on 223 does not affect and corrode those lights, but the ones down in California.
So it's my understanding, Bill, that when these were put in, they were sunk into the ground. If you look at them, they're actually below sidewalk level. So that salt gets kind of laying in there. And on 223, that's not the case.
Those are all much newer than these.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think in 40 years, though, you're probably gonna see the similar, 22 more years.
Okay, I am unless there's any more discussion, I am hearing that we're set with the request for the major fund. Would that be correct, guys? Okay, good.
So, big dog, general fund. Just start at the top. Well, where the big little log, I don't know. All right, so we do have revenue projections in here, which we are projecting to be actually a little bit lower. And the reason for that is, we no longer have these water and sewer loan payments that are due. The water and sewer funds have fully paid back general fund. So that's.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, we actually are seeing it. I think we talked about this, a little bit of an increase in property taxes right now, and we are projecting that to be up a little bit, which does help offset that 80,000. We go down to council, not much, really the next few departments, there's not much change, it's pretty much status quo. Administrative assistant wages, this,
Can we ask questions?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cable franchise fee, I think I asked this last year, but again, we've got more, that's gone, right? So we can't collect them in, right? Why is it dropping for people? Is it based on people how you afford, or is it based on how many line? Because I thought you see how much maybe your footage is in the car.
What number are you right?
I apologize, I don't know, so, I mean, look at how much that's dropped, so. The way that I
Well, that's
believe,
the typo. That should be 25,000. Good catch, Mike. See, I missed, that's the second time I missed zeros. Sorry
because
about that.
we put much more linear footage. Cable in the ground, and it continues to drop, and it's a quality of movie.
Good catch. Sorry, guys. Shoo. Just helping with revenue.
All that fiber optic doesn't affect that. And see, that's my question, because some is internet based, is it telephone
Yeah,
based?
so
One
the
cable, but
state of-
everything runs on this fiber.
The state of Michigan has the worst, I shouldn't say the worst, the
Yeah.
Metro Act is so confusing. So DMP pays franchise fee, but then Frontier does not, because they say it's just internet based, they don't provide any TV or anything, so they don't have to pay a franchise fee, they have to pay permit fees. And DMP under their franchise doesn't have to pay permit fees. So it's kind of a weird thing, but the permit fees are actually revenues generated under major or local street, depending on which right of way they're in. And if we go jump back to major and local, you guys can actually see those under its right of way permit. So for this year, we've brought in 2750 for major, and then local, we brought in some as well, because Frontier's been upgrading all of their infrastructure. So local, it's 1250. And it's $500 every time they pull a permit.
That's dirt cheap too, I think we should.
The state of Michigan sets that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
We
pay
charge them,
a
the
lot.
maximum is 500, and that's what we charge them, it's the max.
Okay, are we allowed to pull a blanket permit for the entire town?
We make them pull per project
Okay.
location.
I get it, I'm not trying to get hold of that, but I'm trying to cut it.
Well, they should have to, because it is a pain in the butt now.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely, it's fair. Makes digging more challenging and.
Yeah, it's our right of way, and let's utilize, yeah, if we can get a lot, whatever we can get for a permit.
In the underground, I put it in that new sewer.
So I'm sure there was,
I couldn't even.
yeah, it was a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's I mean, it's like
Yeah.
crisscross.
Yep.
It's bad.
On that corner torn up at Sugar Street and Lane Street, it was spaghetti of wires. It had a big ground.
Pool sales, you're recommending a lower, right?
No, so we did budget 35,000 this year, however, we're projecting to be closer to 40 this year. I'm always just hesitant on this one, because I don't really know, it's hard to tell, like, if it's a really nice year, like this year. It's been really humid, so I think we've had higher day passes, so that's why I left that the same at 35.
Your reimbursement, number 32. Back up.
Yes, so the reimbursements, that is from the school to cover the SRO officer. So they're billed for their wages and benefits when Matt's working at the schools. We pay the portion of his wages when he's working for the village. Through the summer.
You don't want to, please. Don't wait.
Wages are, yes, but police budget is in general fund, so the revenue comes in here and then the expenses within the police department.
Okay. That's all.
Is that nice to have those little trucks in there any longer?
Yes. And now we got 3 little individual police.
Well, they're gonna work at it.
All right, so moving forward, what I was saying about the administrative assistants, you'll see that the wages there are removed. And last time we talked about in the building department, I had removed some of those to try to utilize that fund balance a little bit. So obviously, it's not a ton of money, but they did do that. Yeah. We continue down it, we really stayed the same until we start getting into some of the parks and things. Village Hall Ground, we do have. It's connecting weird. We do have a couple capital requests. We have a $6,000 request to paint the interior of Village Hall. And then we have the $10,000 request that we briefly talked about last night with Brent to replace the trees and shrub in this back parking lot. I had made a note last night to add the 4 planters at the corner here. So I don't know, I would probably leave the 10 and see what we could do, or we could bump that up a little bit if you guys wanted to. And then this is where that 375,000 is highlighted here. That's that transfer to local streets that we talked about. If needed, you guys could adjust that down or move it around a little bit, which again, you did do last year. And I'm gonna just kind of keep going through these, and then after we go through it all, you guys can maybe tell me what your priorities are, if that works.
Can you talk a little bit about the paint inside of
It would just be painting and with,
updating?
yes, it's just starting to look pretty dingy in some spots, like, this is the perfect example, it's just,
The back is bad too. Just
yeah, there's.
gun holsters and things like that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just,
okay.
you paint your house within 10 years.
Well,
it's-
totally get
yeah,
it, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so just up here,
I don't think it's a-
and I think we would,
That's 14. That's
Okay.
years of good.
and our plan would be just to do the same colors,
Gotcha.
we don't wanna try to cover it or change anything, but just freshen it all up. The next department's the attorney kind of and audit fees there, which that's the same as their current year. Depot. This one's, I don't really know what to do here right now because we're kind of in a weird spot. I'm still waiting on that geotechnical quote from the engineers. I don't know if you guys want to move something forward for the foundation repairs. It's maybe placeholder, I don't really know what that amount is, I don't have enough information. In our capital improvement request, we do have the deck replacement for 7,000 and the roof replacement for 20. Both of those projects I think are needed, but I would not do them without getting more information on the foundation, so I think this fund is kind of, in my eyes, on hold a little bit until we have better information on what's going to happen with that foundation. So I would just hate to say, yeah, let's go do a roof, and then I'm like, oh, we actually gotta move this.
We should put some money in this placeholder, I would think.
Yes, and I'm hoping to have some better information before you guys adopt this budget in September, but if not, we could either amend it or we could put a little bit as a placeholder. That's really up to you guys. We did budget to this current fiscal year $20,000. With some repairs and some engineering, we're looking at spending about $8,000. So my recommendation would be to carry forward the 10 we didn't, or 12 that we didn't spend, just to have something there, but obviously that's up to you guys. If you want me to put that 12 in right now, and then we can kind of see the number, I can do that. And again, we can always adjust that.
I would say that,
Yeah,
then if we have to get engineers for the next
Exactly.
phase, yes, did they redesign the foundation, or do we redesign
Yeah.
the location, at least we have some
You
engineering.
got something, you got money, yeah.
Great idea what that cost would be. Put in here.
I'm waiting for the quote for the geotechnical, I'm not sure. Boy Scout building is next, and this pretty much the same, don't have any major requests there. Municipal improvement is for the most part the same, there are 2 requests here, one of them being the $20,000 transfer to DEA. So we would need to talk about what you guys would want, if anything, to put there. And then we do have the wayfinding entryway sign request. This is carried over from last year, was not budgeted. We do have a T-Mobile grant that Asia applied for this project, and we're supposed to know,
Sweet.
is it this week?
Yeah.
Okay, I know it was coming up, on that.
So this week or next.
I'm so burned out that wayfinding thing, that has been there for eons. I know I'm
Kicked it
exaggerating.
down the road, you're right.
Oh my God.
What is the grant come out?
The grant, we'll find out, I think it's August. Oh, it's 50,000.
Only 2.
We would have approximately, I think it's the whole, I'd have to go look at it, but I think it's like 58,000. So for the 2 sites, and they're brick, and they're quite nice. The design, our design committee, designed them.
The quote, the quote that Asia got was $50,250.
I thought it was 58, I'm sorry, so that's good. So I was wrong.
Okay.
We were just talking about you.
What's our budget time, you know?
My child, he's gonna hang out till the meeting's over.
Well,
Well,
I mean, it's good, but people look at what are we investing in, you know, the streetlights, DDA, you know, the signage, DDA. Again, it's things I think that's critical and we have pushed off, and I don't know if we can afford it, I'd like to, but I also wanna be cognizant of what people are expecting. Well, not everybody may agree with what we're trying to accomplish. You know, I'm just trying to be open and honest, say what can we afford, what can be done.
I know it's one of our goals. I mean, I was just looking to see,
Yeah.
it's been, I can't recall, but prior again, we're trying to find it right now.
It's been on our list for a long time.
So moving on to police department. We have this is an increase, which is mostly wages and benefits. All of chief stuff stayed the same otherwise. And then I'll kind of let Chief talk about his capital request that he has. I will say that the portable speed signs, I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, Mike, after Chief or not. I did make a note here, and it's cutting it off. I don't know what my computer is doing right now. It's just over 10, so we can talk about that. LPR.
Oh, the LPR?
Yeah,
Oh, because it's long term.
right, it's 55 years payments,
Which one do you want to start with?
whatever you want.
The radar signs, Mike's baby, I'm not opposed to them. You know, and I've had discussions about them, we kind of have some different opinions on their effectiveness. I think there's certainly. There's definitely a PR value there, a community benefit. Depending on the signs that we get. The old radar trailer we had, here's a trailer, and here's your speed. Of course, with technology now, we can collect data on the number of cars that are speeding, what the actual speeds were, when they were speeding. We can do all that sort of thing. Newer signs are portable, they don't require a trailer.
License numbers?
No, the radar signs simply would collect data on the number of vehicles, traffic patterns, speeds, average speeds, and to make it download that data, but it's all anonymous. And that certainly would be helpful if we're trying to target an area to see when we're having problems. So there's definitely that benefit.
The sign
there.
clock, you, meaning this, I would buy the sign, I would buy a sign that companies slow down.
Yes.
So I was
You
curious,
can get them to do all sorts of things.
Audible?
no, you didn't slow down what?
What I like,
It did go slow down.
what I like, I can strobes, it actually
Yes,
starts
it
flashing
did
strobes.
that, so I was like, oh, I have not seen what you, I mean, I've seen the typical one where the numbers are there, but not.
You get them with white strobes, red and blues, solar powered, battery powered, hardwired, there's all sorts of things. You can do. So there's definitely a benefit there. It's always been on the, I told Danielle and even Jim and Garwin and Joe, for the police department, there's what we need, the necessities, and then we have the would be nice list. And this has always been on the would be nice list. It's not something that's vital to the operation of the police department, but certainly would be nice. And I think there certainly would be a benefit for the community as far as public safety.
I'll argue with that. I'll argue with you on that.
Okay.
Respectfully disagree with you. We can't fill the positions, right? We're trying very hard. We read on social media and the newspaper and everywhere else that people say, oh, the police, they don't over patrol, and we don't do this, and we don't do that. You know, we used to be known as a fire clucky days, you know what I mean? Don't speak in Blissfield.
You can say it,
This
rather
is-
not.
Yeah, this is something that, yes, PR, it gets the information out there. These things are portable. I went to West Unity's village office and I sat down with them. Come back from work one day and I said, you know, give me the gist on this. And they said, it's incredible what they do. Like you said, you can program them to say different things. They're solar. We could put them out at the school movie. We could put them on 223. So we hear, you know, in DDA, we're in our DDA issues, the speed on 223. I think these are
I'm
things
not
that.
sure I can put it on to 23. I gotta check that.
Okay, well, you should be able to read the trailers.
Okay,
Trailers.
and maybe I just don't know, I'm not so goofy.
So again, it's for 10 grand, if we can't fill the cars, if we can't fill the positions, it's at least something to reiterate. Just people don't stop in town, we know this, people speed all through town, and that's perception. And I think it's reality, I think it's good for PR and it's a safety.
I agree.
And that for me is 100%.
I agree with 100% with you. I live on Walnut Street there. After school, it's out, man.
Absolutely.
It's 8,500.
I had inquired a couple of years about putting a speed sign up on Walnut Street.
And it's not.
You put it in my yard.
Enforcement, it's about, again,
wow.
being proactive and that again, people see that up and they've been proven that they.
Is 7,000? Enough, I should say sufficient, is that a sufficient?
That it's a little bit over, because it was about 65 and
That's cool one.
that was two.
And this is all,
They're on they have a base on the pole, you pump, much
I
like a
think
street sign.
depending on the
And
options,
it's all solar, you
Yeah.
plug it in and off. You know,
it's
so we
the
can-
option for, are we gonna get solar with battery backup, are we gonna do?
Yeah, you can get them to be
Yeah.
quite a bit more expensive. Mike did provide me a quote for two. I bumped that request up a little bit just to cover if the, I don't know, inflation or anything we wanted to add. Cause it was like 64, so I was just under 6,500.
and
And he orders it, it's like a 10%.
and do we need two, which we better ask
Two
you.
would be nice.
I
'cause
think
then
two
we
is nice, so
practice
would one be better with a, with more than belt? I'm only asking.
That's exactly what this one says, it's like you said, you
It's gonna
can
have-
program it to say, yeah, okay, if the speed limit's 35, like I'll come in and, you know, if I'm doing 40, it'll say slow down. As soon as you hit that level where they want you, it goes green or says thank you or whatever.
Yes.
And it also
So
does,
this does that.
it doesn't record, which I hate Big Brother, it doesn't record the license plate thing like that, but it can monitor traffic going both ways. And it's more like, hey, okay. Like,
Data collection.
yeah, it's a data collector, and we could say this fits, or we can go back to MDOT and say this doesn't
Fine.
work, our speeds
Doing
are
the
off.
two would,
Yes.
both machines, the
So-
machine will give us that. I'm on board with 7.
Is this the time that does like the Amber Alert as well, like that you do other things besides slow
No.
down?
I'm down for that. I wanted
Yeah.
one on Fulton Street a couple
Yeah.
years
How
ago.
about the Allen, I mean.
Yeah.
There's no point in the south and all that there.
I measure friends with this thing, right? And then we post an officer there at a certain day of the week, at a certain time of the day.
Okay.
It provides me with data when assessing where do we need to deploy the officers. Certainly, even it's even in our in our policies and procedures. If you look at our personnel evaluations, there's a specific column where we focus on traffic enforcement on 223. And it makes sense, we have 8,000 to 10,000 cars a day there, and that's where we do spend a lot of our time. But this would help put the spotlight on other problem areas. Help me, you know, we had problems before on Sherman Street. We knew they were coming out of the industrial park at certain times in the afternoon. We focused on that area, we were able to knock it down. But again, it was based on complaints. And I certainly would prefer that we're addressing issues before we have people on Walnut Street complaining about the speeders. I would like to address it before residents are complaining about it.
So speeding now is an issue. My kids in school,
Speeding is
I
always.
didn't say anything, but now they're gone, so.
Speed, and I'll say this, you know, we have. Now with the cell phones and post-COVID, and probably everybody's seen it. We are seeing a lot more aggressive driving, that we're making more cases for felonious assaults. Related to road rage now, and we're seeing injuries, we're seeing guns pulled, and 2 or 3 incidents in the past year where weapons were pulled. And so, yes, it's definitely an issue, a public safety issue, and it's one we're constantly trying to stay on top of, in addition to everything else we're doing.
Put your 7 in there then, Danielle.
I got it in there, sorry, do keep setting out for me.
What else?
Sign that was on a trailer, did you say, Chief?
The old one,
No, the ones that Mike was talking about.
no, they're not on trailers, they're portable, they're about this big, and we actually mount them on poles, and they have a bracket that you can lock
Ground
around.
stays, you just take
Bracket
it from
stays,
one
you
place
just
to
hang
another.
the sign.
Yeah, even
The
the
beauty is, if I get the one I always look at, I can actually pull up with my phone and I can download the data into the file with the phone and bring it back to the office without even having to take the sign off until we're ready to move it around. So,
Nice.
Want to tell us about the enclosed trailer for the equipment?
the enclosed trailer, again, this is on the would be nice list. This is for our firearms, materials, not storing weapons or ammunition, but for storing the targets. The stands, all the peripherals that we have to take from the basement, bring them out. It takes us about an hour every time we go out to the range just to get all the gear, get it upstairs and then cart it over to Sportsman's Club to do our shoot. And then we gotta bring everything back and then take it back downstairs. So it's a pain in the neck. So that's something we've talked about over the years. Would be nice if we were able to put all that equipment in a trailer and just keep it stored. So, sorry.
I was saying $6,000 is kind of cheap for a.
Yeah, we were thinking we could probably find a used one. You know, we're trying to stay prudent, you know, and thinking what we'd be using the board. Do I need a brand new one? No. If we're carting it 5 miles one way and 5 miles back, 3 or 4 times a year, we don't need a brand new.
But like a small utility.
Small utility truck, like this small U-Haul type truck. Like that. We even, you know, Jake, Lieutenant Wagner even brought up the idea yesterday. We were thinking about possibly we haven't talked to sports people about this, but we had talked about potentially asking them to be for, erecting a small shed out there. We haven't talked to sources about that, but certainly that's something to explore if we did do this before we got a trailer.
I would like to explore that.
Yeah, it would.
I would like to
It'd be a
explore
lot
that,
cheaper.
Yeah.
But again, we have to get sources well.
Right, I'd like to talk with the sport.
Oh, yeah,
For sure.
anything I can do to save money, I will. Well, again, we're not storing weapons or ammunition. It's basically gonna be just the wood stands, the metal stands, targets. It's not a lot of, expensive material, it's bulk. We were talking about those full-size targets, paper targets, the box of those. You know, so it's gonna work great and steal that, I'm gonna be out. For a box of targets. So it's the bulk material, but not the expensive stuff. Again, we already said, ammo and guns, how they stay here.
You got that new training. Remember, great, right, our training. Fund.
Yeah, the CP training fund, that new one.
Technically,
Oh, yeah,
technically would that cover them, again, your range
possibly.
training is required with that.
301 funds, 302 funds would cover that. I don't know about the new training fund that came out, the professional development. I don't know, like the brand fund in there.
Your training, that's all
Yeah.
hard to see.
When I was at the conference, I had the opportunity to talk with the influence director about that, and that whole fund is a work in progress as far as what people are going to be. So that's cutting edge territory, but they are receptive. It's a mindset I would hope to working for legitimate expenses. Yeah, new equipment. It's 302. I think I would probably get by with a trailer more than I could a shed. I'm not sure if a shed would qualify as new equipment since that they probably consider that a structure. But it's certainly something I can talk about. The last item is the LPR. We just got the Axon cameras finally installed in patrol cars. Axon has become pretty much the industry standard. County's got them, a lot of uses around Illinois County is having them now. The camera system we bought was we just got the basic system. However, it does have license plate recognition capabilities. So I did reach out to them. I did request this the first time. Because,
Very well. What
oh,
number?
I'm sorry, there.
This is a new line, it's 286.
Transfer out to law enforcement, gotcha, okay.
It's right above that, the in-car camera. So when I first sent you guys the budget, I didn't have the cost from G yet.
Gotcha,
So that
okay,
it was added in.
okay.
So I'll back up a bit. About 8 or 9 years ago, I had a conversation with the sheriff about LPR technology. It's been out there for a bit. And no, we weren't really looking at it at the time because there were limitations in the technology, specifically the LPR couldn't differentiate between Ohio plates and Michigan plates. So it really had limited value at that time. So when we requested the in-car cameras, they told me that LPR would be a bit of a request. We're so close to Ohio, we get too many plates. When they were installing it, I was having a conversation with the installer. He said, oh no, the technology's come along and they can now differentiate between states. Really? So I reached back out to the sales rep, we got some numbers, the LPR would certainly be another force multiplier. What in one respect, what it does is that if we're sitting stationary running a radar at 223, it's reading every single license plate that's coming through town. It's going to alert stolen vehicles, wanted vehicles. Anything we have in our local files.
Does it tie like a warrant to register to somebody that's on that plate?
So I was just getting ready to talk about. When we enter a warrant into the system, right now, if there's a venture warrant, the court does it, and we have to go back and repack it. Meaning we have to go and find as much data as we can and back the warrant. And we're in a major project right now, almost finished with it, because we found out during the lien audit that even though courts were entering the warrants, they didn't have access to a lot of the data necessary to pass the warrant. So we're going back now and fixing those warrants, about 250 warrants. What we're seeing, I'd say about 60% of them are Ohio residents. Because of misdemeanors, there is no extradition, even on felonies, it's gotta be a violent felony before we extradite. Meaning, we gotta catch them in Michigan in order to bring them to court. With this LPR technology, I can program the plates for registered vehicles to the one subjects. And if they have to come to town, go to Adrian, go to work, go to school, we hit on the plate, and it'd be one of our warrants, usually it'd be one of our warrants, we clean up that case, pull that case up. So it's a force multiplier, it's not, the only thing it's doing, is automating the process that we would have to do manually, and that's running a license plate. And it's just running every single plate, so, it would help in protecting criminals basically come through town, stolen vehicles, wanted vehicles, especially anything that narcotics have entered into the system. Anything that's in lead that's wanted, it's in the top one. It's a here. So for the money, I was pleasantly surprised at the cost, and it certainly went to the top of my want list for this year.
So what's requested in the budget would be, they split the payments over 5 years. So the total cost for the 5 years is $10,678. Year one, it's 1,498, so I rounded it up to 1,500. Year two, and it goes up a little bit each year, so year two, from 1 to 2 is the biggest jump, it goes to 2,000, and then year three is like 2,100, 2,200. But again, it ends up being that total cost, so if we do budget for this, we would have to for the next 5 years. And right above that in the budget is that in-car camera lease payment, and just as a refresher, we did a 5-year lease payment on the in-car cameras.
And it's a lease owned.
10,000 over 5 years, what you say?
Yes.
Correct, it's 10,678,
And
it's
that's for
over
all,
5 years.
that's for all 3 mile patrol cars.
And this would be, like you were saying before, this is a lot, which is, nice.
This would be at the top of my plan.
This is the pattern.
Yeah.
You'd have to create a policy or something, right? I mean, obviously, again, I don't think you're irresponsible or any of our officers are responsible, but you wanna really be careful with that information of who goes through what license plate, again, I hate to think of other things, but how that information is stored or received, of what license plates are coming through town. Right?
Well, that's all regulated already by the lead policies. And
Not that,
it's stringent because there's, anything we enter, the lien policies, which are enforced by state law. Just because I enter it, somebody else has to do a second person review. And that's already policy because state law requires it. So if I enter the data, Jake's got to go back and look at it, vice versa. And right now, for the most part, Lieutenant Wagner and I are doing most of this. Officer report CASA sometimes will help us out at nights. Moving forward, it's probably gonna be something we're gonna ask midnight crews to kind of help us more with the data entry. But again, anything they enter, I gotta double check before they make sure the information's correct. And then and there again, also, even in doing training, officers understand just from using the computers, that's really all it is, it's gonna use a hit. Just because you get a hit on the computer, you still gotta, there's still some things you have to do to make sure you've got the right vehicle before you make that stop. And so nothing like in that regard.
but PR wise, if we utilize it, we start getting kids, nabbing people, whatever that may get spread to the people using this as a thoroughfare between here and there, whatever, say, or bypass Blissfield because, you know what I mean? It kind of keeps out the riffraff and like it's sort of a proactive thing, that's right. As much as I hate everybody knowing where and when I drive through whatever.
Yeah,
Well, that's side of the time, it is when we already know.
Yeah, it's not like the flat cameras where it's collecting all the data and storing it. My understanding, I'll go check on this. My understanding is the LPR is not storing the data for future.
I'm hearing, yes, is that correct, guys? Yep. numbers in there, Miss Danielle.
And I'm gonna leave the 6,000 empty right now was the split census at this time.
And see if you could try out for the coffee shed.
Okay. So moving on, DPW is the next section here. We talked about this a little bit last night, that 30,000 for the DPW facility study engineering. My recommendation is the same. I would wait on that, especially following Lauren, my conversation with MEDC and. Yes, Tim.
I'm sorry, can we go back to the 6,000, please?
Yeah.
What if the sportsman club says no? Then we can do the 6,000 for the trailer?
We can, so the budget won't be adopted until September, so we can bring back more information. And or if it's after budget's adopted, we can always look at it and bring an amendment to you and say, okay, we have this information. And look at it at that.
I should have an answer for you by the next,
Council meeting.
Committee?
committee of the whole thing.
Committed vote.
That-
Yeah, that one. Yeah. If you guys want to budget something for that DPW facility, let me know, but, and we can always come back to that too, but again, my recommendation, Brian's on board with that as well, it's not to do that right now. Engineering. You guys appropriated $50,000 for tasks 1 through 5 on the river erosion engineering. Task 6 through 10, the total cost is $127,000. I rounded this up a little bit, that would be to complete all of the tasks. I did ask the engineers if we could not do the full 130,000 for to finish those. What would make sense? Like, could we do task 6 and 7 and keep making progress, or just 6 and then wait on 7? I'm still waiting to hear from them on that. We do have a meeting. They actually just finalized the report from task 1 through 5. And we have a meeting scheduled, August. It's the week of the 12th, I gotta double check the date. In the next couple weeks. And I'll be able to, once I get that final report, share some additional information with you all regarding that as well.
Do those 6 through 10 get us like locked in discussion, things like that, or is it legitimately just?
It's just the erosion, but. If we get through 10, it opens up the village of Blissfield for significant grant opportunities to help fund any erosion projects.
And I'm still on board for a dam study. I just. Everywhere and everywhere else you read now that if they're kind of becoming bygone era, and people, again, this big picture, we talked about the river and utilization, cleaning and all that sort of stuff. Just baby steps, how do we get there?
Yeah.
100% on board.
And they do look at the dam a little bit, and I think they will further in one of the steps we've not yet completed, because, and probably Tim can speak to this better than any of us. That dam where it's located right immediately downriver from it, there's pretty significant erosion. So I think they're having to look at that to see is part of that from the dam. And what's the long-term effect, like we go to a project there and the dam remains, or does it remain, what does that look like for future erosion? I don't think to the extent that you're wanting, Mike, but they do have to at least start looking at it.
But we know, yeah, I mean, this is all compounding, much like we said yesterday. These log jams are holding back, like when they were built up against the bridge there, as soon as MDOT pulled us off, you saw how fast that water dropped. So again, the flooding and that sort of thing is compounding the erosion issue. So again, obviously this is millions of dollars, tons of years of not just us, but all down the river is watershed of trying to come up with a solution. But I think even if we're the at least it helps us get started and say, this is what we gotta do, I think it's money well spent. It's hopefully gonna solve a lot of.
Works engineer, you're saying?
Yeah,
Oh, well, with our goals, it's
Yep.
stated there as well as priority number one.
I'm trying to get the best bang for the buck, and I think that can help us. Again, potentially doing things, the offshoots of what we're trying to do, you know, not just, you know, the erosion, but flooding issues, you know, will we ever be able to have you know, canoeing or recreational, clean the river, that kind of thing, I think it's a precursor, to actually pulling that stuff off.
I'm gonna put the 130 there so that when we get to the bottom, we see where we're at with it, and again, we can adjust.
Right.
Rubbish and recycling is the same, yeah. Planning commission is pretty much the same. Zoning administrator, the wages, again, this is. I'm really sorry, my computer is not wanting to cooperate. This is, again, Maddie's wages that were moved into building department. The minimal, but every little bit helps. Economic development, this is Laura's portion of wages and benefits. I know we previously talked about that. That $10,000 for parks and recreation is the only request in the parks budget here. And I do have that, excuse me, as a placeholder right now, and we can adjust that.
I think you can adjust it, I think you put it to 0. After hearing all of this, honestly,
Wishes, I mean,
it
wishes.
is, I think 0 for the parks and rec.
Okay.
Are you gonna pull that?
Yep.
You get out of it.
Cool. We have, and we talked about this yesterday, the fence, I had that at a 0 after yesterday.
Sorry.
I almost didn't want to bring it up, Mike.
Again, 11,000 for a fence, or we say that for 10 years and we're able to say, hey, now we can reseal the stupid bottom of the pool, that's correct. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, it's a balance to it. For me, that fence is critical, but repairing that pool in 10 years when we don't have money.
And I don't disagree with you. And my comment, back to the health department, we passed our inspections thus far, so.
No, sorry.
Festival, we've got, the 7,725, which is a little bit of an increase. And that's really actually because I budgeted for the, dumpster. We typically get 2. Stevens donates 1. I finally remembered to budget for it and not to do amendments, so that's my fault this year. Sorry, guys.
That's cheaper than that. I thought we had it running.
So I actually have that, I was working on that total, it is more than that, but it's not all under that because part of it's police wages.
Water. Yeah.
Correct, so it's
That's right.
spread out, so I will send you guys that chart again, it's actually on a sticky note of things to do, I just have not got to it yet. Bachmeyer.
Does that, sorry,
You're good.
before I forget it though, does the committee know that Stevens donates that so that they can?
Yes, I do
hold
share
box of
that with them,
Okay.
yep. Bachmeyer Little League is, we don't really have too much here. We budgeted some projects like playground mulch, which we did do some playground mulch this year. It came in quite a bit higher, so we want to carry that 4,000 forward, and we increased it by 2. I just budgeted those amounts because they're pretty minimal. And then we do still have those trust fund dugout repairs or replacement money that's specifically by the courts designated, so we have to keep that amount there until we get that project done. Moving on to.
Why hasn't that happened? That was so critical, I mean.
So the Barber field dugouts are more important than the Bachmeyer.
But
So
the
this
Lily's
summer's
talk about tear
been,
them out, be level, you know,
yeah.
why haven't they?
So we have talked, we've got 3 projects pending with Little League and I'd say minimal traction. The other thing, we this year, current fiscal year budgeted Obviously not all the projects that we have, but a good amount of projects, definitely the most since I've been with the village. And it's been a challenge managing all of them. Brent and I are the leads on a majority of them and it's stretched us quite a bit, so,
But that's
Without
where-
their
that's where
help,
these
we
little
just-
league
yeah.
moms and dad stuff need to be taking the initiative if they wanna see this stuff happen. Obviously, we can fund it. There's no reason that they shouldn't be done.
Ellis Park, we got quite a bit done this year on Ellis Park. I'm excited about that. If you guys hopefully have been down there recently, the pool is scheduled to be done now. They did not, could not do that before bicentennial, so that'll be removed. And I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but the planters look awesome. Thank you, Rotary. Please refresh my memory, because I always want to say their own name, painted the flames.
It was, Whiting, Peg Whiting.
Whiting
Mhm.
volunteered and repainted the flames that are in the park, so I don't know if you've noticed that, but they're much more vibrant, they look so much better. The squiggly lines, the artwork,
Up
Down.
on the insurance place that we moved from.
those are flames.
Okay.
There's now a plaque describing the story as well.
When I didn't
did
know
see
either.
that. And I
Yes.
wondered.
I didn't know there were flames either.
Okay, what's your reason? That's right.
So projects in this fund, playground equipment replacement, I actually would like to apply for that grant. I'll be coming to you guys for that in probably this month, actually.
What line are you talking, Daniel?
509 on mine. It might be a little different on yours because I added that LPR.
Yeah, okay.
Skate park replacement, again, that would be to replace 2 pieces of the skate park. We've got the permanent cornhole boards, the skate park lighting to LED. And I know Brent talked to you guys about this last night a little bit. We do have in the 24-25 budget requesting 25-26 budget requesting the ball fields. And then we're gonna have some discussion about the tennis courts lights as well. But we cannot get balls for these, so we really, that's probably of these projects, I would say a higher priority. And then we would like to start doing a phased picnic table replacement. I did make a note, I'm gonna bring up the sponsorship things, I loved that idea, thank you. But what do you guys think on these projects? Or do you wanna keep going and come back?
Well, I'm hearing you say about the light.
Keep going, or?
Okay, go ahead.
Clara Bachmeyer Park. We have the Rotary Shelter roof. You guys did budget $20,000 to start making some progress for that, so I put that as a placeholder to carry that forward. The original requested amount is $160,000. I can tell you that the Rotary is very on board with helping to fund this project, and they actually, the board made a motion to have myself solicit some quotes to get that repaired to see if they could fully fund it potentially. So I do think we should carry forward the 20 to help and potentially add a little bit, but I don't know that we should do the full 160 because I know it's a priority approved project for the Rotary, and I will say I'm really happy with the board for being on board with doing some maintenance and not just new shiny projects, so I do appreciate that, but.
Is this one of those things, Daniel, you would put down a placeholder on this? You're saying
Well,
an
it's,
additional 20 on top of
Yeah. well, I put 20,000 is, cause I'm saying we should at least carry forward the 20 we
Right,
budgeted this
right.
year. But potentially you could add to that, so if you wanted to add, I would bump that up to whatever,
the 20 is still in replacement.
right,
Got it,
yes.
okay, gotcha.
I think we should do 40, like, let's continue building, it's gonna say, catastrophic happen, Rotary can't do it, but then we're still planning. Let's set that aside.
I agree, that's what I would recommend as well.
Go ahead and pop that in there, yeah. Unless someone disagrees.
So this part's, I got this listed twice, it's a little bit goofy, so we had the trust fund for designated pedestrian bridge of the 51,761. That would reduce the total, the 828,300. That's reducing it by the 51. So I kind of listed them separate though, because I wanted you guys to see the trust fund. So we would need to approve the full, both of those amounts to fully replace and remove that bridge.
So the replacement, in my world, means to put another one in its place.
Yes.
And I thought we had talked about this. Did we determine we wanted to have another one put up?
You guys never really, so last year, this was obviously a hot topic.
Yeah.
We never really came to a final determination because I think everybody kind of sides, and that was my impression at least. That 51,761 will stay there until whatever we decide to do with it. I don't know. Sorry, my internet cut out again. I don't know that that's a project we can afford to do. I know I told you before, Mike had sent me some stuff on an MDOT grant. I talked to them and they're like, yep, not happening. We funded you before. Right. I don't know. There's not a good answer there. The bridge is, again, it's still usable. It does have a reduced load rating. It is safe. It can be used. It just, we can't have large groups of people on it. And then we do keep equipment off of it.
We had discussed the reopening the 223 sidewalk.
If you,
Potential.
you know, we discussed quite a few things.
Is that a MDOT decision to reopen that?
We would have to work with MDOT on that, yes, they would have to approve it and sign off because it is in their right of way.
You're gonna find out if that's a possibility.
We did have a just very like preliminary conversation with them. We didn't obviously go through any formal process and they did indicate that they would be willing to have the discussion, but that they were unwilling to fund the connection or removing the guardrail, things like that. They said that would be our responsibility. That was not like a formal official approval. We would still have to go through that process, but they definitely were open to working with us.
What is our committee to hold on again? Next one?
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec.
Should, I'm just throwing this out at you, should we put this on there as well? To have some discussion about this, I think we should,
Trust bridge.
yeah, I think we should. Add those two.
Yeah.
Because if we're thinking we're not gonna replace, Bill just had made a suggestion about them.
That instead of, obviously that bridge is gonna deteriorate further. So build a walking trail around the river down to the arch bridge and back up.
And I thought that might be one of the pieces of the trail that they had talked about initially, I cannot recall, you know what I'm saying? So instead of ditch the replacement, then have another part of the walking trail, I think we're gonna. But, so they know,
What's flood?
That was one of
You
the
get a
questions that came up.
well, you know, if many times it floods, you're not gonna go across the.
Well, we reopened the street side that wasn't open. And then you got the option.
Yeah.
And then that gets us by, and then when MDOT rebuilds that bridge someday, then we say, okay, you go wider.
Exactly.
That's you.
So Danielle, when we do our committee of the whole next month, we'd like to put in the steel truss bridge replacement in that committee of the whole.
I like that, because we haven't talked about that.
Let's do it.
And we can use that, if that's what we do, that 51,000 we can go towards removal and or sidewalk and whatever, because that's what that was designated for specifically. Sign replacement 12,100 that was requested last year and not approved, so it's requested again. I don't know if you guys have seen the sign that is, if you're going to Claire Bachmeyer Park and you go to the second entrance with the bathrooms, there's that little parking lot, that sign is terrible.
I think that be cleaned and repainted, it's not rusted in a way, it's legitimately just.
We
scratched.
could, yeah, it is grass.
I think it should be.
We can try that too and see how long it lasts or if that works or.
It's that and some copper paint, because it's exactly. It's what we have, and I get they're expensive, but it's what is in O'Mara Park, it's all the same, it's that sort of consistency, yeah, they're expensive, but.
If
Yeah,
we
that's
replace it, I
$6.
was going to change it to match our wayfind plan and start phasing in like sign replacements to get us on our new colors and. But we can do that too, yeah, because we have a lot of
I agree.
projects.
Either we go with something totally new and cheaper, or we try to fix that one, but we also have a iodine or Gilson, which is quote labeled. Either, you know, so everything we can decide there, so. Council's pleasure, but yes, we should do something, whether it's new signs cheaper or we can try to repair them, but then replace.
I lost internet again, but I'm gonna keep going, so we can sort of nearly finish. Barber Field. We had parking lot rebuild, you guys budgeted 20,000 this year to start making some progress, I put that in the budget again. My recommendation is the same as the shelter, I would bump that up and put something to just keep making progress. I would say at least 40, but if you want me to put that as a placeholder right now, I can do that and we can kind of go from there.
Is it 20 or in addition?
In addition, so it would be 40,000 total.
Oh, it's got total, gotcha, okay.
Yes, another 20. Tennis courts, and maybe this needs to be on committee of the whole too.
Yeah.
Tennis court
Yeah.
resurfacing,
Yes.
I don't know what we want to do with
Was
this.
it on that community of the whole, that's gonna be a nasty meeting, when it's gone.
The last oh no, two more.
Longer.
Urban forestry, I have no requests, so that budget's pretty much status quo. Library, we have the 175,000 that we already said we transferred. They have two capital project requests, parking lot repair for 74,000. And then vestibule door replacement at 4,500. So after inputting the stuff that you guys were saying yes to, and you said no to quite a bit or no action on a lot. That puts, if you wanna maintain a 2-month reserve, it gives you 258,387 left to work with.
No, say that number again.
258. Or 387, but 258. Now, if you adjust the 375 going to streets, that number would potentially go up. From there, so this is the part where you guys gotta start, at least start tentatively making some decisions, and I can keep updating you on that bottom number. And I can try to share my screen again too, but I think it's just gonna
Well,
continue
to
going out.
keep it right with that. Okay, that's a good number to start with, but let's talk staff, let's talk wages and benefits.
Yes. So wages, I have, obviously I've got to build something into the budget. I have a 5% increase. For cost of living for the employees.
Across the board.
It would be across the board, however. Police union negotiations are still ongoing, so that's an unknown. But yes, otherwise it would be across the board, with the exception of Laura. Laura, there's a new law that is in place, that sets any employee that is salary, they set a minimum wage, and she is under that wage. So if you either, your options are to increase the wages to the minimum required by the law, or pay them overtime. She did talk to her board about this, and she did indicate she could try to reduce overtime. She works a lot, which we greatly appreciate. I would love her not to work that much, but it's what she does. It's pretty unrealistic. And we would actually pay, if we increased her wages to the minimum, it would be more cost effective than paying her overtime rate. But that would be the only other exception to that. Nope, the treasurer and clerk are currently under by about $325. So if we gave even a 3% or 5% cost of living, they would be over that amount and they'd be good. If we give no raise, then we'd have to adjust them to 325.
I had asked Danielle, I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to look at your email, but she sent the percent change last year, 23, 24, would that be right?
Yes.
So I don't know if you guys had a chance to see that email. I am not in favor of 5% increase. I am not. as I look at the numbers that were there, last year.
Would like to, but I don't think the public's gonna be okay with that.
No, I do not,
Again,
I,
it's a struggle because we are trying to recruit a well-trained and quality staff, but you're right. And that's an easy.
So inflation is projected to be at 3.2% this year. Cost of living is intended to keep up with inflation. So obviously for budget purposes, I don't want you to go over the 5% because that's what I budgeted. You could go under that. I see both sides of it, and because I'm required to, but I'm also an employee. Benefit side before, and you guys can kind of tell me what you want to do with wages, but benefits are a little bit trickier. We are going, our benefits renew in January 1. I don't know if you guys have been watching the news or following. I've sent you guys a few things here in the past, but Blue Cross Blue Shield announced that they had a deficit for the first time. So the increase in benefits are across the board. I budgeted a 20% increase. I am praying that it is not that high. I think based on my conversations with Franklin Benefits that we're going to be closer to 12%. But that's not, I know it's a guarantee right now.
we're going with 15.
Another community, which I feel terrible for, had a 50% increase, so. We hopefully will not be anywhere near that, but I'm just sharing that, not to scare you guys, but just
But
to
you budgeted
share
for
that
20.
I did budget for 20. And obviously, if we could come in under that, that would be phenomenal, and I will keep you guys posted on that. And it is budgeted to continue paying for that for the employees as we
That's
do
a
now.
big benefit that
And I think like,
covered for a long time.
and well, and yeah, they have the benefits, that's big deal. And I think Mike, you made a very good point. The perception of the community with another 5% raise, that could be challenged. I'm not opposed to a 3.5%, 4%.
3.5 positive.
Because you said the 3.2, and the 3.5 would be. Yeah.
Okay, it would take me some time to adjust that. I don't think it's significantly going to impact what projects you could or could not approve because it's spread out throughout all of the budgets. That just brings me back to my question. We've got that right now without adjusting that street appropriation. That 258, I think I said, I got it wrong now, I apologize.
Question on the insurance, did you base it on like the actual employees that we have? Because like some went much higher than others, is that based on what staff we have?
So it is, yes, and then like, for example, the police department has open positions. I don't know if we will hire a family or an individual, so I budget for a family insurance because I just don't know that.
Potentially takes down under that.
If we hire, well, and we did just let you guys know, the person we hired is a family, so that'll be a family insurance rate. We have another open position that if filled and it's an individual, then we'd be a little bit under there. But otherwise, yes, I budget,
Like I say,
Yeah.
you're,
yeah.
the crack filling, are you gonna do that on the newspaper and?
Okay,
Or
so
the
that's, I was gonna go back through the projects
already-
and have you guys start adding, because that one. So paint interior Village Hall and Pearl Street parking lot tree and shrub replacement. You guys didn't allocate any there at 6,000 and 10,000. Do you want to?
We really can't, have we? I mean,
Got 258.
Yeah, you've got 258,000 to work with.
oh, right, I was on. I don't know what I was thinking, okay.
But we still have to kind of go through.
Yeah, we got a lot of, but I'm saying, what, I would like to start adding to tell you what
Okay.
that final number is gonna be. So do we wanna add those or we're saying they're not?
I thought we were at 258. And that's why I thought we were below the 2 month reserve. You're saying we got to 258 to
Don't
spend.
worry about it.
I understand now.
Okay,
I think it should be painted. I think we can do it cheaper, but that'd be nice. And again, I think we should add and do corners. Say 50,000. That solves all of our landscaping issues.
I'm gonna leave the
That's just
streets
me.
at 375 right now, we'll
Yes.
come back to that.
What number are you based on?
176, 177.
Thank you.
Okay, so I put $12,000 for the Depot Engineering Foundation repairs. Which would carry forward the unspent amount. We've got 20,000 for the DDA transfer. Yay, nay,
That's for DPW.
yes, to help offset the DPW costs.
Does that cover all of DPW's costs?
It actually covers all of DPW plus a little bit of a cushion, so DPW wages are projected at 17,500, I think. Let me backtrack. 17,375.
Gas rate might be too, right? Did we say that's on that or?
But that was gonna be my next question, was we find
Okay, hang on, you're going too fast. What number are you on now?
245.
245.
Okay, slow down. Hang on. 245. Okay, you're doing the lower things for DPW, I should say. That's the 20,000 for
I have a
DPW.
question. Why every other department has to pay the wages and that? Why not DDA?
You're saying for 20,000, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes, I'm more concerned about that, development portion of that, because the DDA literally functions on the DPW doing a lot of that stuff, but hanging the decorations, cleaning, garbage. It's an ugly number, but it's like Daniel alluded to, it's much more accurate. It's track. That money's being spent, it's not directly need to be fund. But it's the benefit of the entire community to have that stuff, so it's that's the.
you put it in there.
Yeah.
What number is that?
246.
246, okay. I was on-
Otherwise, it's gonna fall
That's the
back on
transfer,
volunteers.
yeah, okay, gotcha, okay.
That's accurate.
So entryway signs, what do you guys think about budgeting for those?
Do it if we get a grant, we're happy. Don't revisit it.
Sure.
Or
Okay.
you said now total.
Police department, I think we're good on, unless you guys wanna add. So right now, we're at 156,887 remaining. The only thing for the police department you guys did not budget was that trailer. Do you wanna put anything in there right now? Or do you wanna wait until you get that additional information?
But
It's
5, then we can
six-
build it.
I was
We can
gonna
build
say,
it.
I was thinking of 5, the same numbers,
5,000?
You either one.
Okay. DPW, I think we all agreed to wait on the 30,000 for the facility.
That would be a move, not right, not a.
Yes, it would be a move, yeah. I had already put the 130,000, so that's in there. That didn't change the number, because I had put it in when we were going through the first
for the
time.
engineering.
Yes, for the river erosion. Parks and Rec, we agreed on 0 for that transfer. We agreed on 0 for the fence at the pool.
What if we said pick a project, we could try to allocate something infrastructure wise, maintenance wise, 5,000. And let the Parks and Rec board sort of implement and say, this is what we want to accomplish. Again, I don't want boards to meet just to meet and never really accomplish things. If we gave them some funding, it doesn't have to be programming, but there's a lot of maintenance things that they can say, let's focus on this,
Are we allowed to do that, Danielle?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, then, yeah. Oh,
I mean.
then go back to 10.
So.
I get it, yeah, and I'll fight you on the DDA level, same thing, same kind of idea.
I'm not
certainly.
okay with that.
But I think it at least gives them something to work towards.
5,500, Danielle. 7,500?
It's too late, I put
I
it in,
know,
I'm
we're
just
okay
kidding.
with that.
Are you guys okay with 7,500?
And if not, again,
And then what?
I
what
do
we get?
7,500, yeah.
Okay, 70, all right,
I'd still like to see the trees and the lights across from
okay,
Ellis Park too.
we can do, if we can do those other things. Okay, cool.
Okay, next request that we have, in Ellis Park, we had the playground equipment, skate park replacement, permanent cornhole boards, skate park LED lighting, and then the phased picnic table replacements. And then when lines 509.
Yep.
Well.
Gotcha.
508 through 5.
Yep.
Well,
Thank you.
Is that skate park replacement, is it gonna be wood again? Is that what you're talking?
I don't know that they make them the wood anymore. I agree,
No, they're,
Composite?
yes.
Yeah, the skate surface is usually a composite surface, so the surface. But those wooden ramps were constructed by.
And we purchased them from another community use. We did last fiscal year, DPW did some pretty extensive repairs, but it's really, we need to start replacing them and our plan, this is actually two pieces. We had requested one last year. We wanted to do one a year until we were finished, so we rolled the two forward because it wasn't funded last year.
Did we buy this to get used quite a bit? I see kids down there.
They do get used.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Did we pass the 300s or whatever? Did we miss, or was that just part of
The 300s.
line 300? Right, did we skip that? Just usually went down to like what, Parks and Record? Or where are we at? Sorry.
Yeah, we're in,
Yeah, that's we jumped. Can we go back to 300s?
Or next,
Um,
where are you?
sorry, not, I think we went through this. I'm sorry. I'll be very quick. Please wait to blah, 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 engineering.
Put in the whole
We
100
did.
for here.
Cool.
Where-
So we've got some donations, like,
why?
right, 426, 427 area, our improvement, capital improvements requests on the pool.
Oh.
So we nixed that fence. Are we setting rainy day funds away? We have to, we're at
I
either 4 or 5.
thought we were.
How much you gotta do?
so I don't have any rainy day.
We have to.
I was just gonna leave that donated funds for future projects too, because we're getting to the point, like it's small.
Right.
We did accomplish what the family wanted to, and that is for maintenance to keep that pool going. So that was my thought, that 38 would sit there for, and then we could add back to that.
So you're not planning on spending that down?
I'm not, no.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I didn't
See what I'm
really-
saying?
okay,
Because,
yeah.
you know, in 4 or 5 years, we're gonna have to resurface that.
It is in next year's budget
Okay.
request to resurface that.
Then how we pay
And,
for it.
and that's again why my plan was just to let that kind of sit there and roll until we needed it for a project.
That's, so that is
Yep.
going for.
But at least 10,000 a year needs to be set that.
I
at
was
least
just
we
gonna
have that
say,
done by
should we
next
put 10 towards it and make it for 12 or whatever, and just make it a nice 50,000?
Or at least take that 11 that we were looking at.
And from the fence, put it in there.
You know what I'm saying? Again,
Yeah.
this is what the public expects of us, much like we're doing with our utilities. It's how are we gonna pull the stuff off for the future? We gotta save up for it, and then we'll do it right.
I like the idea, Jerry, putting the fence money.
You want to do the full 11 or 10?
Just make it even 50, it's 11,145.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
agree.
make it even 50, I like it.
So we were back down to Ellis Park there. I just need to know if you guys have any projects here that you want to fund.
Number, again,
50.
508.
well, you said the lighting, the LED needs to be taken care of.
497 electrical cable. So Halloween, we had a nightmare, right? Because that electrical cable is ugly between those sort of areas, right? The pavilion.
So what about, I mean, it's already there for 2, what do you need?
Yeah, we
I'm
budgeted
okay with
15 this year and we haven't done the work, so we bumped it up. Yeah, we rolled it over and added 500 to it to get that done.
I would- Shuffleboard, yes, right, so you carried all that stuff over, or no, shuffleboard?
Yeah, the shuffleboard, I'm hoping we can actually get that done this year. We're getting a price to remove and update some of that, but if not, I would carry that forward, yes.
Sorry, just trying to make sure that we're still at the meeting.
And the other projects there will be completed this year.
Right, go back to the LED lighting,
Tennis courts, go ahead,
but we gotta go, where's tennis courts?
that's, we decided no on that, right? But we're gonna talk.
Are we saying yes to any of Ellis Park though?
Yes, that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
we are, yeah,
But slow down.
okay.
We are in no hurry. If we gotta be here till 10, I don't care. We're gonna do it. It's all right. So let's go back to the playground equipment replacement for 55,000.
I would like to apply for a grant for that. So
Okay.
I would say we could wait on that.
All right, then the skate park replacement, I think we're in agreement that that should take place.
Do we want to do the full amount or a smaller amount?
What if we bought one whole element a year?
Is that,
That's what we wanted to
Yeah,
do initially. There's 2 this year because we had requested it last year. So let's do 12 there. 12,000.
yes, and then we'll get one, we can afford, we'll start.
Permanent cornhole boards,
How many sets you talking there for $5,000? One set?
yeah,
Plus air tags.
They're gonna be concrete?
they are concrete, yes.
$5,000 for.
So that's for concrete cornhole boards, the signs, and then a storage bench to house the,
Okay. Can I ask you prices?
I did.
Okay, what are you thinking?
It was requested of me
Yes, no, I mean, look,
by Parks and Rec to add it to
yes,
the
I mean,
budget.
put it in, but I mean, for the concrete part of it, isn't there anything like that? What do you call that stuff? Corrugated stuff? You call that, nothing corrugated?
What was, I talked to a recreation company, and
Oh.
if you want it to last and be something that is set up through the winter, through people using it, concrete is the permanent route to go.
Okay.
People can't move it, they can't,
Where would you put this at?
Ellis Park is
Well, I
where,
know where we're at,
where the shuffleboard course.
they have to endure flooding too, so.
Yeah.
That's the reason it's gotta be time.
Where would you put the bags at for the skate?
The 5,000 includes a storage box that would keep the bags and things.
It's not a vending machine, you buy them, you bring them back.
Yeah.
$30.
Wow.
Air tags, I like those.
I know Parks wants the cornhole board for $5,000. Holy smoke.
I don't know that it's a priority, but
No.
I was asked to put it in the budget and
I
I.
mentioned it, and let's continue.
Picnic tables, and this is only just starting to
Yes.
touch on them.
How many picnic tables for 10,000?
We're gonna do as many as we can, I don't know yet.
I didn't know, 10 grand was 5 picnic tables or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure, we're gonna look at some different ones, so I
Well,
did
Danielle,
purchase those round.
Yes.
I purchased the round tables at the pool shelter, there's 10 of those and that was 7,400. But those are coated metal that last longer, you can leave them out year long, I don't know if we're gonna do the same style, but just to give you an idea. Okay, scrolling down to Clara Bachmeyer Park, I had put $40,000 for the roof. The sign replacement, we're gonna see if we can repair that, so we don't need that, and then bridge, we're gonna talk about a committee of the whole, so I have nothing for that right now unless you guys wanna change that. Barber Field, we bumped up the parking lot to 40,000. Tennis courts, I think we're talking about that committee of the whole in August as well.
Yeah.
And then we're down to the library request. So for 2-month reserve, you have 101,542 remaining. The library request that they've got 74,000 for parking lot and 4,500 for their door replacement.
I would like when they become a bond passes in my world. And they become district library. I would like to buy the building for $1 and they keep over everything. And we have nothing. So I would recommend doing nothing. So I see zeros there.
I agree as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
for the public.
So right now, that would leave us with a little bit over, 2 month, under 3 month at 401 remaining. If you guys wanted to go down to a 2 month reserve, you've got that 101,000 still to work with.
Can we chew on that, do a transfer if we find a back truck?
Yeah, we can leave it in our reserves and do a budget amendment or anything if we have something come up down the road.
For once, let's not pull ourselves so thin, maybe just for a year, and then if something happens, there's a lot of things that we can still do, a lot of things that we accomplish, we'll let the public come in with pitchforks and flames and tell us what they want, and we'll reinvest that in some sort of infrastructure project.
Well, and you guys are gonna be talking about 2 major projects at the next committee of the whole, the bridge and tennis courts, so that potentially may change something as well.
Wow.
Like it, can you run out, I do too, can you run numbers with 4%, just, again. It's ugly, but.
I can,
yes,
I can't like write this,
No,
but yes, I will get that
Yeah.
change. I wrote 3.5.
Yeah,
Or-
well, sorry, do like 2, 3, 4, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, do both,
Okay.
please. Is that, you guys want, do you guys have a preference?
Well,
I
we can have for 4.
I'd run a couple different options and see where we're at.
Yeah,
At least we're sitting somewhat pretty.
do 1, 3.5, do 1.
I agree with Michael about the back truck, if we can find some way to push that further to the top of the pile.
Right.
I think
Because,
that'll save us in the end on a lot of the maintenance and wear and tear.
I think we have a good game plan. Okay, good. This was good.
Really good.
Everybody got a little something.
Perfect. I will get this all, make sure it all saved and
Make sure you got enough
clean it
zeros
up
on
a
there.
little bit.
You got enough zeros on there?
Yeah. I did that in 2 spots this year, goodness. And then I'll update those wages and send it to you guys.
How'd we do on our goals? Pretty well. Obviously, the cost is gonna change, but I think we've done quite well.
Yeah.
I don't wanna drag it out. but
No, you're
Yeah,
not bringing it up.
that's
That's
pretty
what
well.
we're supposed to be doing, is talk about this stuff. Jetting, okay, goal 1, objective 1, ongoing jetting and repairing sections, we're good with that. Street repairs and improvements and, curb and gutters, ongoing. Complete water distribution system repairs, priority 3, lead service line replacement, priority 2, we've addressed those. Water main across the river, priority 1, we've addressed that. The dead hydrants, they're working, that's ongoing / priority 1, so we're good with that. We didn't talk anything about the focus on the lab building for the water treatment plant,
wastewater.
wastewater treatment, thank you.
Yeah, that's pending that master plan that they're doing.
Yeah, and then sludge building, we had discussion, but
It's all kind of in limbo, right, in limbo, but
comprehensive sidewalk improvement, you guys are working on it, I think we have a priority 4, but I think we're moving it up to priority 4, I think it's moving its way up. Ready to do that.
It may go ahead, there you go, you got a little extra funds to say, hey, we have a stretch that we wanna do, or the curb and gutter, you know, things like that.
We're continuing we're continuing having a low priority with our DPW facility. Filling in the old pool will be done. The dugouts at Farber and Bachmeyer. They were priorities 2 and 3. Board court, priority 4, well, they're even lower, that's okay. Old pool house rehab, that's a priority 5, we have not addressed that yet. Tennis courts, Farber Field, blah, blah, blah. Steel truss, we had that as priority 1, we've got that coming up. Arch Bridge preventive maintenance, we've taken care of that. Aquatic Center, donation funds project, we determine where those monies are gonna go. Budget future maintenance funds annually, okay, we've got that going on, river erosion, we've got that going on, it's been addressed. Boy Scout building. Addressed that, everything, we're good, I mean, really,
What number did you just have?
Took the 12.
It's
One fifty.
got all excited that the remaining, it was 101.
Okay, then this sets us up for the next council also to say, you guys wanna talk about a rollback? Potential if that bond goes through, or if not. We could almost,
We're not gonna have that discussion right now.
we won't have it now, but that sets up the future council to have that discussion. They potentially could do it or not, or. You know, have a little extra money to say, yes.
No, we've done, sorry, Mike, I didn't.
No.
interrupt. I was just saying, no, and you guys can read those things in earlier as well, but I think we're gonna find, I mean. We're reading our goals,
I feel
we've done good.
100% better about this budget than see the past.
Every year it's gone better. We know, thank you. Thank you. And it really is a big deal,
They all play a huge role in budget.
and thank you.
And I agree, I think since I've been here, we're all finding our rhythm and figuring it out. We've got, it is getting better each year.
Well, you know what, as well, I mean, we took a lot of time to make those. Make the goal, and we're following the goals, it's not really nilly, what do we think? We keep going back, is the goal, I think good, nice job, you guys. If no one objects,